Hey Indian Creek 8th grade students, it's Professor Blazek and I'm here with our second video in our Reading Companion series on A Christmas Carol, looking at Stave 4. In this video we're going to be looking at all of the important passages in the fourth stave of our story. So the first set of important passages that we want to look at have to do with the spirit in this stave, which is the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Now, if you look here at the very beginning of Stave 4, we get a description of the ghost of Christmas yet to come. And in the first highlighted bit here, it says that it was shrouded in a deep black garment, which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible save one outstretched hand. But for this it would have been difficult to detach its figure from the night and separate it from the darkness by which it was surrounded. He felt that it was tall and stately when it came beside him, and that its mysterious presence filled him with a solemn dread. He knew no more, for the spirit neither spoke nor moved. So again, you think about this shrouded figure, you think about the mystery surrounding it, the black cloak that it wears. Again, as we talked about in the first video, just very reminiscent of the Grim Reaper and all of the dread and the mystery that surrounds the future. And it goes on to say in the second highlighted bit that Scrooge is feeling that he could hardly stand. His legs are trembling as he prepared to follow the spirit, and he knows that there is nothing but these ghostly eyes that are watching him, and that he can see nothing but this one hand and this great heap of black. And so there again is just all of this misery and mystery that surrounds this spirit, and again just going hand in hand with the idea that nothing in the future can be truly known. And luckily for Scrooge, although he can't see it in this moment, this is a message that he has the opportunity to change the future and make it into whatever it would be that he would hope it would be. And so underneath all of this darkness, all of this mystery, there is this chance for redemption. But in that moment, Scrooge just really cannot see that side of the spirit. Now, the next set of important passages that I would like to look at involve the graveyard scene, the final scene in the stave, and really like the final moment of realization and hope for redemption from Ebenezer Scrooge. So we're here now on the last page of Stave 4, and the spirit has taken Scrooge to a graveyard, and the highlighted section says that the spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one. He advanced towards it trembling. The phantom was exactly as it had been, but he dreaded that he saw new meaning in its solemn shape. Scrooge says, "Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they the shadows of things that may be only?" And the ghost just continues to say nothing, to not move at all, and just point at this one stone. And so eventually Scrooge creeps towards it, trembling as he goes, and following the finger read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge. And this is just a moment of total meltdown for Scrooge. He begs for the chance to change, saying that he will honor Christmas and try to keep it all year round. He will try to live in the past, the present, and the future. And again, the spirit just continues to say nothing and just point. And it is just a really powerful scene because Scrooge sees his own reckoning. He realizes the lack of emotion, the lack of care that is going to be shown to his own death. And at the very end, it says that he holds up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, and he sees an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. And so this final image of Scrooge repenting for his terrible ways, again, obviously just hoping for a chance at redemption, and then obviously this will lead into Stave 5 when the spirit collapses down into a bedpost. So this final scene just connecting back with what the spirit represents, very, very powerful. The entire stave seems to be leading to it, but it is just confirmation of exactly how the world is going to treat Scrooge's death. And now the final set of passages that we're going to look at in this stave are the changes in Old Scrooge. Again, something we've been looking at in every stave, but as the final sort of reckoning and revelation, very important to see just how far Scrooge has been pushed with regard to his emotional limits. So we've talked a little bit about some of the changes to Old Scrooge. Obviously, the very end of the stave brings about a final enormous change. But if we go back a little bit earlier into Stave 4, and we're looking here on page 34, where we have a scene where these people are at Old Joe's and they're looking to trade these items in for whatever money they can get. And they just are, bringing in all of these items, and we get to the point where they've brought in his actual bed curtains and his blankets. And they discuss them without any respect to this dead man. And at the very bottom of this highlighted section, it says that Scrooge listened to this dialogue in horror. As they sat grouped about their spoil, in the scanty light afforded by the old man's lamp, he viewed them with a detestation and disgust which could hardly have been greater, though they had been obscene demons marketing the corpse itself. And so this final just intrusion on this dead man's privacy, because remember, he doesn't know that they're talking about him yet, but this final intrusion to where they actually went to a person's bedroom and took their blankets and their bed curtains, which really, symbolically, a person's bedroom is the most private area in their entire home. And, these people have shown nothing in regard to this dead man except for the hope to make some money off of his death. And so Scrooge is just completely shocked and completely appalled by these actions. Whereas before, earlier in the story, he might not have cared so much the means to which someone would go in order to make whatever money they could, because we know that he has been unwilling to even pay for coal for Bob Cratchit, to give any money at all to the poor. But this obviously is a huge change from Scrooge at the beginning of the story. And so as we move forward to page 35, we have a change in the scene where the spirit actually takes Scrooge to this deceased man's bedroom, and he sees that it is completely bare. The room is very dark. There's nothing but a pale light upon it, and the phantom is just standing there pointing towards the bed, gesturing for Scrooge to go and look. And there is the opportunity Scrooge sees by just what's described as the motion of a finger to disclose this man's face. And Scrooge, at the very bottom of that top highlighted section, it said he thought of it, felt how easy it would be to do, and longed to do it, but had no more power to withdraw the veil than to dismiss the specter at his side. And in that little bottom highlighted section here, it says that no voice pronounced these words in Scrooge's ears, and yet he heard them when he looked upon the bed. He thought, if this man could be raised up now, what would be his foremost thoughts? Avarice, hard dealing, griping cares, they have brought him a rich end, truly. In other words, Scrooge is thinking to himself, if this dead man could be brought back to life and look at all of his, evil deeds and all of the bad things that he has done to people, he would realize that all of it was really for nothing, and that they have done nothing at the end of his life but bring him just disrespect and hatred from all the people in the rest of the city, and now they are looking to profit from him in the same way that he has been profiting from them his entire life. And so it just really, again, shows that Scrooge is really thinking about his own situation and almost sort of suggesting to himself, what would be the first thing on my mind in looking back at my life? And that first thought would be that all of the bad things that I have done have really brought me nothing at the end of my life other than scorn and hate from other people. And as we go on, again, towards the end of the stave, Scrooge realizes that it's his own body that is laying in this room. There is nothing that anybody wants to do with his death, and it brings about his final revelation, his final hope for redemption. So this change in Scrooge that we have been seeing through the first 4 staves, really, especially the second, third, and fourth, really comes about to its final end. This, again, is like the final straw that shows Scrooge that he needs to change his ways. So that's it for this video. We've got 2 more to go in Stave 5, and then that will be all for A Christmas Carol. Until the next video on Stave 5, this has been Professor Blazek, signing off.